everybody, and welcome back to the countdown as we continue to count down our top 50 players in the NHL right now. EJ Rupper's here. I'm Jamison. Hope you're doing well at home. Middle of the pack right now, counting down from 30 all the way up to 21 this week. How's the feedback been from the viewers so far at home?
You know what, EJ, we keep saying this all the time. If you got a problem, go to the source. That's Jason Demers, at Jason Demers 55. I mean, that's the guy who came out with this.
Don't we have his number, too?
Yeah, we do. We'll put the phone number on
Release the cell phone later on in the show. Address, everything else.
In all fairness, this is very difficult, right? And this is taking an average. We got our researchers, the analysts, our hosts. Everybody's kind of contributing to this list. And the thing is, you're always going to have an argument. That's what makes this. We're talking about the greatest players in the National Hockey League. So let's maybe focus on that more than
I feel like it's been okay so far, though. Just, mentions prior to years past, it hasn't been as volatile.
Wait till we get up a little
That's
higher.
what I'm waiting for, right? You get into that top 10, and then people go nuts.
Just to echo what Mike said, it's just really, at the end of the day, I mean, if somebody's 28 or 24, we're talking about the best players.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can make you happy today. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't.
But we know.
And if not, it's Jason Demers, right?
Yeah, that's where you focus.
When all else fails, it's on
100%.
JD. All right, here we go. Let's get it going. At number 30, we'll start with the back end in Buffalo, Rasmus Dahlin. Dahlin had 68 points last season, which ranked 4th among all defensemen in the NHL. He's one of just 4 defensemen to record 50 or more points in each of the last 4 seasons, joining the likes of Cale Makar, Adam Fox, and Quinn Hughes. You take a look at his rank last year. He came in at 40th last year each, so up 10 more spots for Rasmus Dahlin. What stands out to you about the way this youngster plays?
Well, a lot of things stand out about the way he plays. And if he was in a different market and maybe on a different team that had more success, he might be higher on that list because we'd see him in these big moments. We haven't seen him really in big moments at the NHL. Maybe this is the year Buffalo finally breaks through and gets to the postseason. But there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the numbers offensively, right? We know that this guy provides offense. He can do a lot of different things offensively. I think we've got, there it is. We got a little tape for you here. And, I mean, he can make things happen. He can rip that one-timer. Look at the time at the moment of the game. Big moment in the game late. He's able to rip one past the screen and score. Here he is, holding off players, coming in, scores at a big moment against the 2-time defending champions. Great pass there to Tage Thompson. Here's one again from the point. So we know he provides all kinds of offensive upside. But you know what I like, Rupper? He's nasty.
Yeah, he is.
Because, I mean, you're a big man, right? He's a big guy, too. You're in the corner. He's not afraid to shove you in there and make it uncomfortable. How about Gallagher? See ya, right? Gallagher comes in there and puts like you're not suspecting there. I think he probably doesn't surprise players anymore and opponents with how physical he can be, but I think he surprises fans still because they think of him as a guy who was selected 1st overall in his draft year, and he is such a good offensive player that he doesn't maybe have that nasty edge. He does. And he can be a difference maker with that as well.
I think he can be very hard to play against because he's annoying in that aspect, too, because he's physical. We need to see him in the playoffs. And to your point off the top, he's probably not going to be as high on a lot of people's lists because we haven't seen success for the team that he's captain of. And we're going to probably see some defensemen on this list that if you were to ask me who I'd rather have, I'd probably take Rasmus Dahlin if you're starting a franchise. But the fact is some of these other defensemen are on successful teams. We see him in a different light. So I guess the point is he could be a lot higher on this list if he was on a good team that made the playoffs.
You know what? One good thing for him, even if things don't maybe go well in Buffalo this year, and you can see the career numbers already high on the list in franchise history there. But there is the Olympics this year, and he'll be a factor for Team Sweden. So those will be big games. So it'll be a chance for Rasmus Dahlin maybe to open a few eyes that he hasn't had really here in the National Hockey League. Let's figure it out, Sabres. Let's figure it out, please.
We need to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Save that for another show.
All right.
Do a whole docu-series.
Oh, that's true.
What's gone
That
wrong
is true.
in Buffalo. We'll keep the countdown going, and we'll stay on the defenseman. At number 29, Josh Morrissey, who finished last season with 62 points. 48 of those were assists. He surpassed Toby Enstrom for the 2nd most assists by a defenseman in franchise history, and needs just 2 more assists to pass Dustin Byfuglien for sole possession of 1st place. So Josh Morrissey at number 29, and Rupper, much like Rasmus Dahlin, making that jump up in this year's rankings. So too Josh Morrissey, last year 44, up to 29 this year. And speaking of making a jump, feels like couple of years ago, he really made that big next jump to become a household name in the National Hockey League.
He's in the Norris Trophy conversations each of the last couple seasons, and that's deservingly so. This guy, he logs a ton of minutes, and I think when you're on a President's Trophy winning team, you can't log those minutes and get those amount of points without playing some good team defense. And the Winnipeg Jets are one of the best, if not the best, defensive team in the National Hockey League. So he can do a little bit of everything. I think that's what makes him very valuable. I think he's probably underappreciated from fans in different markets. Maybe they don't see the Winnipeg Jets a ton, but you're talking about, as he is on this list at 29, one of the best defensemen in the league.
Yeah, he can play in all situations, and he can do so many different things. He's a very good skater. He can shoot it, as you see there. And, you know, J-Mo, you talked about, he made that jump a couple of years ago. And, you know, fans might not realize he was going through something really difficult earlier in his career. His dad had been dealing with illness, and he subsequently passed away. And I think, you know, Mike, you know, playing in the National Hockey League, even if small things are going on in your personal life, it could impact your performance. That's a huge thing to happen in anyone's life, a parent being ill and then passing. So for Josh Morrissey, I think once that all happened, he was able to kind of rededicate himself to his performance, maybe rededicate himself in the memory of his dad, and he really took his game to another place. So fun to see, really one of the interesting guys and nice guys in this league, and a heck of a player.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point about Rasmus Dahlin, and you said maybe if he was on a more successful team right now, you might have him higher up on our list. If you flip-flop Morrissey and Dahlin, would you flip-flop the rankings as well? Is that kind of a good comparison of what you're talking about?
Well, I want to speak very positively of Josh Morrissey because he deserves that. But if you're asking me, I probably would take Rasmus Dahlin if you're just talking about what he is, the stature, the attributes he brings. But the fact of the matter is we're seeing a guy thrive, get better and better. And I don't know if we've seen the ceiling yet in a Josh Morrissey because he's on a team that gives him. I mean, he got career high in minutes this past year. I mean, that might continually climb. When you look at this roster or the decor for Winnipeg, they're not going to blow you off the charts, but they're effective. And I think this guy leads the way in so many different ways.
Yeah, I would take Dahlin, and I think I would only take him just because of the physical tools. Yeah. I mean, he's 6'3", over 200 pounds. Morrissey is about, I think, 6 foot. So just based on that, I would take him. And remember, Dahlin was a first overall pick in his draft year, so the expectations were higher. But that is no... And again, I go back to what I said at the start. It is no reflection on Josh Morrissey. He is a terrific, terrific player on a really good team. Listen, if you take one and I take the other one, we're both going to have a really good hockey team.
Again, splitting hairs here on the Top 50 Countdown. All right, our first break here. When we come back, a down year on Broadway, but still plenty of production from a few of their stars. Find out which Rangers crack our countdown. Coming up next.
His competitive nature, man, that's off the charts for me. His foulness level. Nick Suzuki ties it. His swagger that he brings, it's consuming.
He's just elevated, playing with confidence. He's got world-class feet.
But superstars, not all of them, it doesn't translate right away. It did for him.
At number 28, it is Nick Suzuki of Montreal. The captain was the driving force who helped Montreal return to the playoffs last season. Suzuki had a career high in assists and points. His 95 points were the most by a Habs player in a single season since the mid-1990s. You can see that. Another guy who makes a big jump onto the list this time, not ranked last year, ranked at number 28 this year. And Rupper, you've been shouting from the mountaintops about Nick Suzuki and the job he did to get Montreal into the playoffs this year. Why are you just vouching for this guy so badly?
I've never doubted that he's a very good player, a high-skilled player. But the fact, the leadership that I saw in him this year, being able to elevate, and that's something not everybody can do, just willing your team. And those point totals, I didn't know he had that in him, but there's a turning point, and it was March 30th. And it was this game right here against the Florida Panthers. They got back-to-back games against the Stanley Cup champions, and you see right here, early on in that third period, this is the game-winning goal. You saw him start it off with a face-off, and he gets over here and buries it, right? So this is a huge, again, game winner. This puts them into a playoff position. They never look back from this point on. But this is also off the heels of just an absolute pace he was on, like the last 25 games of the season. You know, I just love Suzuki's game, and you see him on this play again with that replay. He likes to get lost, but he's so smart and intelligent. He understands that if I just stay over here, I'm going to give myself a great opportunity. But then, like, let's go forward 2 nights later. This is in Montreal. You look at the time here. You got 8 seconds left. He goes, again, weak area of the ice, anticipates the play, but he hustles up ice to get himself in that position. You see on the left of your screen, coming here, slow down. Hey, let's not go for a skate behind the net. We got to stop here at the goal line, grabs his puck, puts it in. Not done yet. We're going to overtime here. And this is such an awesome play. Look at the patience here, coming in with the wraparound. So back-to-back games against Stanley Cup champs. Our playoff lives are on the line. You're our leader. What do? Put the team on your back. From this point on, I was a Nick Suzuki fan. I will be forever.
Yeah, I'm with you. Great tape, and that's a great way to look at this player. I mean, that play right at the end of regulation to score that goal and send it to overtime and then win it. But, you know, the thought to be able to think to stop there in that moment, right? Not drift in a bad spot. How many guys would have just drifted behind the net, stopped, put himself in a position to have that good fortune of the puck getting to him and him putting the puck in the net? I'm like you, watched him all year long, really impressed, taking his game to another level. And for the Montreal Canadiens, it turns out to be, you know, we talk about these trades that happen, right? You know, Vegas drafted Suzuki. They traded him for Max Pacioretty. They were trying to win in the moment. Suzuki was a good prospect. In the end, he's turned out to be maybe a franchise player. He's the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and he has helped them now to a playoff appearance last year. So, boy, that's turned out to be a fantastic deal for Montreal.
I'd like to throw this out there, too. This performance down the stretch, in the first half of this next season matters, obviously. He may have forced his way onto Team Canada. I don't know how you can look past Nick Suzuki right now and what he did.
Didn't he say something around the trade deadline, too? We were talking about this in our Top 20 Centers show. He obviously backed it up, but he like verbalized something in that market, and then it's like, all right, kid, you say those kind of things, you got to back it up. That's exactly what he did.
Basically had that conversation, paraphrasing here with Kent Hughes, and said, we like our group. We don't want guys to be sold off here at the deadline. And it was basically, let your guys play, do it. And he went on an absolute a run that you're just not supposed to. I didn't know, again, that he had that in him. Not many players can do that. So elevating your game will get you higher on the list. You might be higher on my personal list and maybe yours as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were talking about it. Being able to find a way to win and having that will to do it, that's something that Nick Suzuki has in spades.
Mike Rupp, the conductor on the hype train for Nick Suzuki. Choo-choo, coming to a station near you. All right, number 27, we're heading to New York. We've got the bread man, Artemi Panarin, at 27. After putting up 120 points 2 years ago, Panarin finishing with just 89 points last year, but still, he led the Rangers in goals, assists, and points. How about this? Since entering the league back in 2015-2016, I should say, Panarin ranks 5th among all skaters in points with 870. So you can see last year, this is our first player in this week's countdown who kind of takes a dip in the rankings. He was 15 last year. He's up to 27 this year. But look, team success, too. We talked about it, right? That can make you rise. Can also drop you a couple of spots as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Rangers, it was a train wreck last year. Like, whatever could go wrong for the Rangers ended up going wrong. Now, I'm bullish on the Rangers this year. I think they'll move back in the right direction again, and a lot of it will be with Artemi Panarin providing a lot of offense during the regular season. There's no question about that. He's such a clever player. He's gifted. He sees the ice so well. He's a great playmaker. He can finish. And he brings all that energy. Like, he's been a perfect fit for the Rangers at MSG, right? Like, he brings a lot of energy into that building on a night-to-night basis. As you can see there, he's on a list with some pretty special players, right? A couple of Hall of Famers on there, 3 that I count, and I think Panarin will likely be a Hall of Famer as well. So I think this year will be better. It's an interesting year, Mike, right? Because his contract expires at the end of the season. But when you go somewhere as an unrestricted free agent, you sign a big deal, right? There's a lot of expectations. New York City, he has met all those expectations. I mean, yeah, they haven't won the Stanley Cup during his time there, but they've gone to the conference finals, I believe, twice. So Artemi Panarin is a high-end player, and if the team plays better this year, we do this list again next year, might be back in the top 20.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to you as a New York Yankees fan.
Yeah, all right.
Not too often do players sign free agent monster deals in New York, not just in baseball, hockey, basketball, football. Does it ever work out?
Yeah.
And the one thing I'll say, you may want a little more in the playoffs, probably from the New York Rangers in general, but you could say that with Artemi Panarin. But the one thing you cannot argue, he has done his job putting points on the board in the regular season. And you need to get there. You need to arrive there and have some swagger and develop other players. And I think this is a guy that he's had that from the get-go. Like, his job is to get points. He has gotten points since he's donned the blue shirt. Why
are some guys built for Broadway, built for New York City, built for Yankee Stadium, and why can other guys not live up to those expectations?
I think he just loves the big moments and loves the crowd, loves the spotlight. I mean, remember, this is a guy that was not drafted.
Right.
Yep.
And he comes into Chicago, and he has that great first year, and, you know, he eventually moved to Columbus and then to the New York Rangers. I think he's eager for it. He wants to be there in those moments. And he's delivered.
Yeah, wasn't the guy in Chicago either. Kind of the wingman to Patrick Kane there.
Yeah, but that was kind of
is the guy.
Yeah, that was kind of at the end of that run in Chicago, right? When he was kind of one of those guys that maybe could have helped prolong it. In the end, it didn't work out that way.
That's when you knew that Chicago was going down the tubes for a little while when they got rid of Artemi.
And they traded him. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that when you think back on it that they did that, but that was Columbus's gain in the short term, and then the Rangers eventually signed him as a free agent. It'll be an interesting year, though, because it is this contract year. And there's so much swirling right now about star players and what they're going to do with the cap going up. I'll be curious to see how it plays out.
Expectations. We'll see how it plays out this year on the ice in New York City. Coming up next, two more names, and one of them is a goalie. Find out which of these three Vezina Trophy winners slides into our mid-20s here on our Top 50 Countdown. That's next.
Yeah, he's one of the best for a reason, has been for a long time.
One of the best goaltenders in the entire league.
There's just something about this guy that, whether it's the calmness or the size, the athletic ability, the ability to make big saves.
As he flashes the leather.
Save for the ages right there. Hellebuyck diving back, what a save! Rebound, chip, Vasilevsky, another save. Highway robbery.
These guys are adding to their legacies, and you can count on them to win big games.
All right, time for the goalie union to stand up. We're going to give the netminder some love here on our Top 50 Countdown, although maybe not enough love from their perspective. You can see the breakdown by position here. We have 16 centermen, 17 wingers, 13 D-men, and just 4 goalies in our Top 50 Countdown. Our second of the 4 about to be revealed right now, and who else would it be? Igor Shesterkin coming in at number 26. Heading into the final year of his 4-year deal, Shesterkin reset the entire goalie market back in December, signing an 8-year extension worth $92 million. His $11.5 million cap hit, now the largest in NHL history for a goaltender, surpassing Carey Price's previous high of $10.5 million. You can see his numbers, his rank last year, number 6 overall, dropping to 26 this year. When this guy's name is on his game, I think I'd hand him the blank check. 11.5 might not even be, you know, cheap enough, because this guy is, when he's all world, right?
He is. I don't love paying goalies that much, but he is the best goalie. And I'll say this, I talk about Cale Makar in this way. I used to talk about Victor Hedman this way too. Victor Hedman, I thought, was always the best defenseman in the league. No matter who won the Norris Trophy, then Cale Makar came along. That's kind of Cale now.
Yeah.
Right, like Quinn Hughes can win the Norris. Other guys can win the Norris, but still you're asking me who's the best defenseman. It's Cale Makar. That's the goaltending category. That's Igor Shesterkin. He doesn't have to win the Vezina. He is the best goalie. Now, Ranger fans, the numbers were down a little bit this year. For him, that's why he went 6 on the list to 26. But here's the thing. He sees some things. His goal save above expected over the last 5 seasons, he's number 2. And that matters to me because the Rangers, I don't know any other way of putting it, their defending was awful the last 2 years.
That's a good way to put it.
Did you hear what I said, though, each? Last 2 years.
Yeah.
So the President's Trophy,
I agree.
The President's Trophy winning year, they did not defend. This guy masks a lot of different things. That's why I think Mike Sullivan coming in here, getting this team to start thinking defensive hockey a little bit more, having a little conscience in that area of the game, Gavrikov, these things will help a guy like Igor. I expect Igor to be much higher next year.
Yeah, okay. A couple of things. I would agree with you about Shesterkin in terms of, like, he's played behind a team that has really not defended all that well. And I would agree with you. Even the year they went to the conference final 2 years ago, he was a big part of it. And I'm bullish on the Rangers this year, as I've said earlier. And I think that he has a great chance to win the Vezina Trophy again this year. When it comes to this list and it comes to right now, I do have a little problem with Sergei Bobrovsky being behind.
It's fair.
Behind Igor Shesterkin, because he has played in all the big games. He's beaten him head-to-head. He beat him head-to-head 2 years ago. Now, Shesterkin was great in that series, but Bobrovsky ended up winning the Cup. He's been to 3 consecutive Cup finals. I think he just became the fastest guy to 400 wins in NHL history.
2 Vezinas.
To me, I look at this list, and right now, and it's nothing against Shesterkin. I like Shesterkin. I love him. He's great. He's unique. But Sergei Bobrovsky, I mean, no respect for a guy that's won back-to-back Cups and has been in the finals 3 years in a row. I mean, like 5 years ago, people were looking to run Bobrovsky out of Florida. Remember this contract? He's taken his game big time now. He's got a good team there. But how many times, Mike, you're covering all the games like I am. J-Mo, you're there. How many times did Bobrovsky maybe bail them out at a big moment? So, love Shesterkin, but right now, I don't know how he's ahead of Bobrovsky. That's just me.
Yeah.
So send the notes again to Jason Demers.
I like it.
55.
You know, that's my agent, Jason Demers.
Oh, is that your agent?
Send the notes to him.
Too big of a cut then.
Yeah.
We talked about it at the start of this countdown show, just how hard it is to just not only rank goalies, but rank 1 through 50 in general, right? You're splitting hairs here. When it comes to putting goalies on this list, we only have 4 out of 50 players. How hard is it to gauge a goalie's value to a team and their success versus a defenseman or a centerman or a winger? How do you gauge that? Do you think there deserves to be more goalies on
Well,
this list?
it's an apples and oranges conversation, right? There's
Is that
two
the
different
most
things.
important position on a team?
At the end of the day, like, the goalies will tell you, like, at the end of the day, if you don't have a good goalie, it doesn't matter, right, about most everything else. I could argue that if you have a really good team, an average goalie can become a really good goalie. So I think, you know, one thing plays off the other. But in the end, to have a great goalie could make a bit. Like, you played with some pretty good ones in your career, right? Marty Brodeur, Henrik Lundqvist. Probably felt good for you, right? Looking back and seeing those big boys back there.
Yeah, oh, it felt great.
Yeah.
Marc-Andre Fleury as well.
Yeah,
But
another guy.
I think the bigger thing in these situations is not to cut the goalies down. I mean, it's the most important position in hockey.
Yep.
But it's the most important position that night. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be the best for us to have success. But tonight, whatever that situation is,
Steal a game, right?
We need you to stop the ones you're supposed to, make the odd other one, but we have to play the right way in front of that goaltender. I think there's been too many times, I think the 2 New York teams are perfect examples. I think Igor Shesterkin has masked a lot of the Rangers' deficiencies.
No doubt.
And Ilya Sorokin arguably has set back the New York Islanders organization because he's been good.
Too good.
Too good. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, though, playing in front of a Marty Brodeur was a great luxury to have. But we paid attention to details defensively, because now those 2 things working together, you're cooking with gas. That's why Marty won 3 cups.
All right. Igor Shesterkin coming in on our list at number 26, 2 of the 4 goaltenders that will make the cuts. At number 25, we've got Kyle Connor, who exploded offensively last year, setting new career highs in assists with 56 and points 97. Also added yet another 40-goal season, finishing with 41 goals. Connor has scored at least 30 goals in 7 of his 9 NHL seasons, up from 35 last year to 25 this year. EJ, this guy, you think about that championship game, 4 Nations, right? USA and Canada didn't play in that game. You know, revisionist history, maybe you throw this guy back into the lineup, but is he the most underappreciated pure goal scorer that we have in the NHL?
He probably is. Yeah. He is a sniper. Yeah. He is just a pure sniper. And the beauty of Kyle Connor is he can score in a variety of ways. I mean, he's dangerous off the rush. I mean, because he's such great speed. You see him here, tracking, boom down. I feel bad here at Calgary. I mean, this is a tough look here for the Flames. I mean, you could defend a little better than that. But that's what he puts everybody on their heels. And then here he can get, look how quick that puck on his stick and off. Bang! In the net. So that's another way he scores. Gets it in front on the move, a little forehand, backhand. Again, that quick release, great shot. I mean, he has got all the tools to score 40, 50 goals pretty much on a yearly basis. He dominates in that way. You can see here, pretty significant numbers. I just love watching him because at any moment, Kyle Connor could change the dynamic of the game with his ability to skate and to shoot at such a high level.
He had an offensive, explosive season. So did his teammate Mark Scheifele. They're on a team that won the President's Trophy. The goaltender won the Hart Trophy. The
power play was great.
The power play was great. Best defensive team in the NHL. Like, this team has a lot of things going. But the one thing that they are known for, they play good defense. Don't let that fool you. This guy maybe sneaks under the radar some nights from fans watching the game, but he is explosive offensively, and we saw it this year.
All right, Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets coming in at number 25. We'll keep it rolling here on our Top 50 Countdown. Coming up next, the Summer of Sam strikes again. Another cup for the Panthers has a few of the Cats ranking pretty high on our list, including the guy who scored 4 goals in the cup-clinching game. That's next. Welcome back to the Top 50 Players Right Now 30 to 21 show. We pick up our countdown at number 24, and that number 24 is this guy, Mark Scheifele. Scheifele recording a career-high 48 assists and 87 points this season while reaching the 30-goal mark for the 4th time in his career. He also played in all 82 games last season, just the 3rd time he's done that. His 336 goals are the most in franchise history. You take a look at the board here, and not ranked in 2024, so Mark Scheifele not just making our ranking, but in the top half of our ranking, coming in at number 24. And maybe adding fuel to that fire, not just leaving him off our countdown last year, but Team Canada leaving him off the Four Nations roster, the Olympics this year. Maybe a little added motivation for Mark Scheifele coming into this season.
Yeah, I think all these guys are going to take it that way. I mean, we talked about Nick Suzuki earlier and what he did, so that's more competition for a guy like Mark Scheifele. And it's going to be tough for a Team Canada standpoint, but that could be a motivating factor. This is a guy, I've liked Mark Scheifele over his career because he's got some good size. We know his passing ability. You saw him scoring goals. He's starting to do that more and more consistently. He's got a little mean streak once in a while, too. I like that part of him. So he could kind of do a little bit of everything. For me, he's a really good #1 center. And I don't put him up there with the top centers in the league, but if you need a #1 center, Mark Scheifele's that guy, and he, again, in Winnipeg, had an incredible season.
Boy, there's a lot of teams that are looking for #1 centers that would love to have Mark Scheifele show up on their doorstep. There's no question about that. I got to see the Jets early in the season in person against the Rangers at the Garden. And remember, they got off to that great start last regular season, ended up having a great season. And listening to Mark Scheifele talk, I really got the sense this is a young man that has really matured as a leader. And remember, in Winnipeg, that dressing room, remember they've had some ups and downs in that dressing room. And I think that Mark Scheifele now has really asserted himself as one of the important leaders on that team, an important voice on that team. And I was really impressed that night just hearing him talk about his play, but also about his team's play. You add that in with all the things that he does on the ice. He's a really high-end player. And I'm kind of shocked, too, like that he wasn't on the Four Nations last year. This is a terrific player that can move around your lineup. If you have a really high-end group like Team Canada, he could do a lot of different things.
He can put lines 1 through 4. He can do a lot of different things. And the one thing you mentioned about him, too, and I love about him, is because I didn't see this coming, where you had Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele right around that same time. They doubled down in Winnipeg. They want to be there. They want to see this thing through. And I love that when players do that. They dig in. And that leadership comes with it, and I think he's done a good job with that.
Because there was a time when it was a foregone conclusion that both those guys were leaving. All of a sudden, they both re-signed for the 8-year extensions, and they have their core locked up for a long time coming up in Winnipeg. So Mark Scheifele coming in at number 24 on our countdown. At number 23, how about this guy, Sam Reinhart? Reinhart following up his 57-goal campaign 2 years ago with a team leading 39 goals this past year. How about this? Over the past 2 seasons, only Austin Matthews has more goals than Reinhart. He also had 11 goals in the playoffs, and all 11 of those goals came at even strength. So last year at 31, Sam Reinhart climbing up our ranks at number 23. And EJ, I think a lot of people felt like, okay, 57, unbelievable, right? Prove it again. and he comes back with 39. Not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that has matured into one of the really great scorers and great players in the league. I mean, because he's so dangerous killing penalties as well. I mean, I think he's got double-digit goals over the last couple of years as a penalty killer, and he plays in these big moments. We've seen him with the Florida Panthers. What did he have, the 5 goals last year in the clinching game?
4.
I mean,
clincher,
yeah, I mean, it was crazy. So, like, he was the 2nd overall pick, I believe, in his draft year. He moves from Buffalo and comes to Florida, matures as a player, as a person, and then is blessed by being around a great group of players, great coach, great management. It's all come together for Ryan Hart. He's pretty special to watch.
Best goal scorer on the team. He's a sniper. He's one of the best goal scorers in the game.
Yeah. Period.
We know about him on the power play. One of the best power play guys.
Yep.
We know the whole play. We got Barkov down to Kachuk, bump out play, bumper position, bang, it's money every time. Yep. He's very smart at reading those plays. Oh, yeah, Selke finalist. Okay? So here's the thing I want to say. These are all of his goals. That one's even luck sometimes to get that. But these are all the goals in the playoffs. And that's the biggest thing with Sam Reinhart. He's a great regular season player. What's better than great? I don't even know. He's even more great. Fantastic.
Tremendous.
She's tremendous. All the adjectives. In the playoffs, that's what he does. He brings them. So here's the point. He's not a power play merchant. One of the best power play guys in the National Hockey League. But in the playoffs, JMO, you said it. Team lead, tied for team lead with 11 goals in the playoffs, all 11 5-on-5.
Yep.
Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, what do we need? What do you need me to do? We've got Barkey, we've got Kachuk, we got Bennett who wins the Conn Smythe, Marchand, all these. But don't forget about me. And I think during the finals and some of that run, I was like, man, he's been kind of quiet. But when the big moment's there, this guy steps up, and you can't teach that.
You know, you're so right, because I remember calling the Stanley Cup final with Kevin Weeks for the international broadcast. Weeks got the first couple of games. He wasn't scoring. Remember, he got dinged up in that series against Carolina. But all of a sudden, as that series went along, he started to find his way. And then, obviously, in the clinching game, he just went off. Yeah. But big moments, this guy finds a way to make an impact.
If you're a Florida Panther fan, you might sit there and be like, these guys are ridiculous at 23. You've got an argument. Like, I feel like this is probably where he should be, because there's a lot of really good players ahead of him here. You got an argument there for what his track record has shown.
Funny you said that, because we're going to help the Florida Panther fans and that argument, because we're going to do a little blind comparison here and put up some stats, and you tell me which person you would rather have in this scenario. So here we go. Let's throw up some of these numbers. You take a look at them, right? The last 2 seasons, this blind resume here. You got games, goals, assists, power play goals. Which of those guys stand out to you? Which one would you want to have each?
You go. What do you got each? Go ahead.
Listen, give me any of them. I just say, you know,
they're all solid, right?
They're all great. I love the guys who play 164 games. You love that, right? 161 games. I mean, all those guys are great. I mean, I don't know if 102 goals, that's pretty special.
I think I'm taking A.
Player A?
Yeah. What do you guys like? I mean, A, C, like you said, splitting hairs here.
It's splitting hairs.
Take a guy, right?
I like either B or C, because you got goals 85 and 102, and they're only relying upon power play goals 23, 28. So both those guys are pretty good too. But I mean, all these guys impressive.
All right. Survey says. Wow.
Oh, look at that, 2 leads.
Yep.
And
how about Braden Point up there too?
But would you think Sam Reinhart's name would be up amongst these names, right?
Nobody would think that Sam Reinhart has been as effective. But hold on, let me hold on to this a second. Of those guys, Braden Point's the one who elevates in the playoffs. His playoff numbers since he's come in the league are incredible. Sam Reinhart, that's the difference between the 2 in the middle and the 2 on the end. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that is the difference.
Crunch time.
It's crunch time. What are you going to do for me in those moments? Because it doesn't matter. I don't care if Sam Reinhart has 25 goals in the regular season. I know come playoff time, he's going to have that defensive shutdown game that we need. He's going to get that power play goal, that 5-on-5 goal. He's going to be effective because he elevates his game at the right time of season.
Yeah, well, listen, those guys are all great players.
All 3 of them ahead of Reinhart in our countdown.
Yeah, you know what's funny is, like, on the ends you had cup winners, and in the middle you have the 2 Leafs. But I would say on the end you also had one guy has Vasilevsky, the other guy has Bobrovsky. I mean, we were talking about goaltenders and how they impact things. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, we all know the story, right? I think they're moving in the right direction. But let's get back to the real story here, Reinhart. I mean, 96 goals.
Yeah.
That is significant.
Like I said, last 2 years, second only to Austin Matthews.
And again, penalty killing. You talked about it as a defensive player. I mean, he does everything to help you win. He's fortunate because he's just a really good fit there. And a credit to Bill Zito to go out and trade for him because, let's face it, when they made that trade to get him from the Buffalo Sabres, were any of us saying, hey, what a deal? No. They're going to be, I mean, this is going to be a difference maker. It's like, oh, yeah, Reinhart, he's a pretty good. He's taken off, but he's had that help around him as well.
There's something to be said with Florida's organization and what they've cultivated
Big
there.
Time.
Because we can go up and down, and we don't have enough time for it. We've got Reinhart. You've got Tkachuk coming off a career-high year in Calgary. You thought maybe he'd never get to that level again. He does. You go to Forsling. Guys are all successful in Florida. There has to be something in the water there for that to work, a good
Seth
culture.
Jones.
You come in
example.
here, you're going to be at your best. You come in here, you're going to be at your best. That's something special they got going.
You mentioned Selke finalists, and Selke finalist with his teammate who won it, Barkov, so maybe they cannibalize each other when it comes to the votes. But do you believe he deserves to be higher on that list just based off that two-way production that he's a lockdown guy in his own end, but also the production second only to Austin Matthews the last 2 years in goals?
If he's a center, he's much higher.
Yep.
If he's a
You
center,
nailed it.
he's much higher.
You nailed it.
And that's fair. But when you start looking at the comparables there, and you're to ask me, don't get me in trouble, J-Mo, but you ask me on that list, it's a Game 7. Who do you want? It's hard not to pick Sam Reinhart.
It's hard not to pick
very
him.
difficult.
Don't say it.
I'm not saying it.
I'm
not social media. I'm not even going to say it. All I'm going to say, it's a hard decision.
There you go.
I would say he should be higher on the list.
Yeah.
When I look at that list, you look at the numbers, players right now, he should be higher on the list. But to Mike's point, I think, again, when you're thinking about players, that difference makers, I always think of centers before I think of wingers, but that's just the way I look at it.
All right, climbing the list, maybe another cup down there in Sunrise, and he jumps into the top 20.
Wow.
We shall see coming up next year. Wow is right. When we come back here in our countdown, we put a bow on this week's countdown with a pair of guys, well, you can count on them at the blue line. Two of the best D-men in the league coming your way next on the Top 50 Countdown. Welcome back to the countdown. 8 names down, 2 left to go. Here is where we've left off so far. So Rasmus Dahlin, Josh Morrissey, Nick Suzuki, Artemi Panarin, Igor Shesterkin, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Sam Reinhart. Ready to get to number 22?
Let's do it.
All right, at number 22, we've got Victor Hedman. Before last season, Hedman named the 11th captain for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was also named the captain for Team Sweden going into the Four Nations face-off. At age 34, he's showing no signs of slowing down, recording his 5th 60-plus point season. Over the last 10 seasons, Hedman's 612 points are the most by a defenseman in that span. You see last year's rank, 12, dropping down a couple of spots to number 22 this year, but the resume speaks for itself. And EJ, when you think of Victor Hedman, what jumps off the page to you?
So many things. I mean, it's really amazing. I mean, 6'7", and he's so big, long, hard to deal with. I mean, he's like a Chris Pronger of his era. You know, he's not as nasty maybe as Pronger, not many were or are, but he just does everything so well. And one thing I wanted to point out is just look at his work on the power play. The Tampa Bay Lightning had this great power play, but Victor Hedman is so smart up top. Makes the little pass there. He's a good shot option as well. He knows when he has room and he has ice in front of him, he'll take it and step into it. So I don't think we appreciate him on the power play as much as maybe we should. We know he's physical. Look how smart he is. He gets to that open spot there. He can take care of business. There he is taking care of a pretty good player in David Pastrnak. I just think that Victor Hedman does everything so well. He's a really smart player. He's been part of winning. And I would say he's really the one almost indispensable member of the Lightning over the years, right? Like, listen, you never want to lose a goalie like a Vasilevsky, right? But there was a time when Ben Bishop was their goalie there, right? Like maybe you could find someone else to be good. But I think you take Victor Hedman out of the lineup, boy, for them. I don't know how you replace him. And they've been fortunate. He's been very healthy throughout most of his career. But he just does everything. And even at this stage where he's getting into his mid-30s, sign me up. He went down 10 spots. I have no idea why. Yeah. Because I think he's as good today as he's been over the last several years. Yeah.
No, he's impressive. And when you just look at his tenure there, the success that he's had, the different looks that the team has had, he has been that one factor that you can't afford to be without. Like even now, Kucherov is an MVP candidate every year. He's a Hart Trophy candidate every single season. There should be. I still think this team hurts more without Victor Hedman in the lineup.
I agree.
Because you got Braden Point, you got other guys, Jake Guentzel, who can step up in these moments. But he does a little bit of everything. And the crazy thing when I sit here and think about it, I've been retired from the game for 10 years, played against Victor Hedman. He's still doing it, man.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, he's still on this list, and your point is very well taken. He could be a lot higher. He just does his thing, and his thing is being one of the top defensemen year in, year out in the National Hockey League.
All right, Victor Hedman coming in on our list this year at number 22. At number 21, we've got Miro Heiskanen. Heiskanen suffering a serious knee injury and missed a career-high 32 games last year for Dallas, including the Four Nations face-off. He did return, though, midway through the playoffs and still managed to put up 4 points in 8 games. Rupper, when Miro Heiskanen is healthy, though, what makes him oh so good?
He could do everything. Now, we've seen a climb a couple of years ago with his offense, but it's not even about that for me. I don't really care about his offense because he influences the game in so many different ways. Dallas Stars can score a lot of goals. Why can they score goals? They can advance pucks. We got this tape here. He is one of the best. I think he is the best defenseman in the National Hockey League with advancing pucks. Now, that could be with great outlet passes, but just watch him. Just silky smooth, one of the best skaters. Like, is he? Yeah. He's not a violent skater like Connor McDavid, where you're watching him just blowing ice up and just cutting and great. But look how smooth. Just look. It doesn't. He looks like he's just at a different pace. But look how silky smooth coming here, outlet to Ben, gets it over to Duchesne, zone entry. You got zone exits, zone entry. You cannot create offense unless you do these things well. He is the best in the National Hockey League for me, EJ, with doing those types of things.
You know, I'm going to use a name that I rarely use when I compare anybody. And it's one of a guy you would know pretty well, Scott Niedermayer.
Yeah,
he reminds me so much of Scott Niedermayer because he makes it look too easy. To your point, he looks like he's controlling the pace with the way that he plays. Yeah. So he's playing it on his terms almost every night. I think for me, the only reason he's at 21 this year is because he got a pretty significant injury last year and missed a lot of time and missed a chunk of the playoffs. I think a full regular season this year, the Olympics coming up, it'll be another opportunity for people to reacquaint themselves with just how good a player he is. I think he's one of the very, very best in the league. When I think of defensemen in this league, I think of Makar and Hughes as kind of Makar at a tier, Hughes kind of right next to it, but not quite there because of the physical tools. And then I have Heiskanen probably as 3 when all things are considered. Yeah. But a brilliant, brilliant skater and just a fun guy to watch.
And really good at defense, too, which is the primary part of that position. But if they were to just take the reins off and let this guy go, he could put up some monster numbers, couldn't he?
He can, but here's the luxury they have. They got Thomas Harley. So we started seeing that peak of offense potentially for Miro Heiskanen, and you're like, all right, maybe he can start getting the respect he deserves because maybe he can put some points up there with a Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. I don't think that's ever going to happen because of his defensive responsibilities, because of his defensive conscience, but now they've got Thomas Harley doing those things. So I think this makes Miro even more effective, makes the Dallas Stars more dangerous. They've got the guy. Harley's the power play guy. Like, Heiskanen's still on the power play. He's going to get his power play looks, and he's going to get offense from that. But they've got that guy. Now you can get Miro. Hey, here's the deal. D-zone denial is one of the best in the league. Get up ice. Be aggressive in different ways. We've got a guy that's going to be aggressive offensively. You be aggressive offensively when the time is right. But that's not your game. Defend, defend, defend. And when you get a chance to go. I think they've got 2 great ones down there in the Big D.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting because we talk about, like, Makar is dynamic. And he's big and he's dynamic and he has such great edge work. Quinn Hughes is so clever and he just can make things happen. And I think that Heiskanen is just more sublime what he does. Yeah, I mean, it's not as dynamic. Yeah. It's not as something that kind of flies off the page, but it almost reminds me a little bit, too, of Nicholas Lidstrom when he played. He would just walk that line and he just was so smooth, to your word, what he did. So Heiskanen's a great player, and I'm hoping that he's going to be healthy all year and see how things go in the Olympics.
And I want to say this. I know you've got a lot of relationships with the Dallas Stars organization. I heard before he even came over, this guy is so good. Remember when Erik Karlsson was getting moved? Yeah. And the big rumor was that he's going to be going to Dallas. They wanted in return, the Ottawa Senators wanted Miro Heiskanen, the prospect. Dallas said, no way. No. We're not doing it. No. They've known, and I've been told from the get-go, this guy is something special, and he is.
Untouchable. All right, Miro Heiskanen coming in at number 21. We talked about the injury. If he's healthy all 82 games last year, how high up on the list do you think he
I think he's top 10.
Yep.
For me, I think he's that good a player. I mean, I would have had him somewhere in that, probably 5 to 10 range.
Yep.
But that's, I am biased towards him because I'm just so impressed. And when I bring up Scott Niedermayer's name for anybody, that tells you what I think of him. I just think he's a fantastic player.
I agree with you. He will never be that, though, because nowadays everything is so point-driven.
Yeah.
And Scott Niedermayer was an example of that maybe before his time in that regard. You need some guys, a defenseman to get 50 points and defend his you-know-what off every night and advance pucks and allow you to get offense. Him advancing zones allows the rest of the forwards to create offense. He might not get any assists out of that. That guy drives offense even if he doesn't always get the numbers.
Does the little things to help his team win. All right, here you go. Here's our next 10 names. So we're up to 21 now in our top 50 countdown. A couple more weeks to go until we officially drop the puck and wrap things up. But what do you think? Middle of the pack here, 30 to 21. How'd we do? How'd Demers do?
Well, I'll tell you what. There's some really great players on this list, and we can debate where they should be, higher, lower. Boy, think about all the teams that would love to add any of these guys. And I'll go back to Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, we'd just love to see him. Hopefully things in Buffalo get better. Love to see him in some big moments in some big games because, boy, he has just got, I think he's still got a lot of upside.
If Buffalo makes the playoffs this up-and-coming season, let's see they make the playoffs. I think Rasmus Dahlin goes from 30. He's top 20. We need to see him in that moment. We need to see him in that light of having success. So we root for that, and we look forward to seeing some of these players move up.
How big is that if Buffalo in the playoffs?
Talk to me in February and March.
We will reconvene at that point of the season. For EJ Raddick, Mike Rupp, I'm Jameson Coyle. 30 to 21. That'll do it for this week's countdown. Keep it locked on the NHL Network throughout the rest of the offseason, which is getting closer and closer to being over, and then we can drop the puck on the real season coming up in October. Thanks for watching.
Rasmus Dahlin, you see that the numbers he pulls, they're top-notch in the NHL.
It's over. Morrissey shoots, score! Bullseye from Josh Morrissey.
This guy's an absolute stud. Nick Suzuki, he's never one to disappoint.
Nick Suzuki, he's doing it all. What a goal! The captain, Suzuki!
When Panarin's playing well, the Rangers are rolling.
300th goal in the outstanding career of Artemi Panarin. Oh, Shesterkin, what a shot, what a save! Shesterkin putting on a show.
He's such a cerebral player to me.
Kyle Connor, the guy is remarkable.
Here's Connor, score! A stroke of brilliance from Kyle Connor.
When he's on the ice, you know there's a capability of doing good.
And it's a goal!
It's a lot of fun watching Reinhart, who is such a smart player out there.
He finishes! Oh, what a goal! Reinhart rifles it home!
Victor Hedman, one of the hardest, heaviest shots in the NHL.
Hedman with a shot! Scores!
And Miro Heiskanen is just effortless when he's out there.
He scores! What a shot by Miro Heiskanen! I mean, that's unbelievable.